Hi, this is Jared Davidson, and these are 5 ways in which the Panasonic GH5 could be better, or 5 improvements that the next iteration of the GH5 could have. Now, let me first say that I love the GH cameras. I've had the GH2, GH3, GH4. I'm shooting this now with the GH5. It's a great camera, and I absolutely love it. But no camera is perfect. So these are 5 ways in which I hope to see the camera improve in order of importance. Number 1, dynamic range. Now I love the image coming from the GH5. It's sharp, you can shoot in 4K, you can really crop it and it still looks sharp. It's a beautiful, the color science coming from Panasonic is great, great image, but it lacks dynamic range. I really would love to see a bit more dynamic range coming from Panasonic, especially when you expose for the shadows. It's very easy to have those highlights blow out. So a few more stops, maybe 2 more stops. Is that too much to ask? At least an extra stop of dynamic range would go a long way. Maybe a Super 35 sensor like the Blackmagic cameras. I don't know, but I would love some more dynamic range. Okay, number 2, low light. So Panasonic have been making improvements, and they do have a little micro 4/3 sensor. A smaller sensor is going to struggle with low light, just as it's going to struggle with dynamic range. So they are doing a really good job improving the technology of their sensors, and considering the sensor size, the low light's pretty good. But compared to the competition, I know the APS-C or full frame sensor, so it's unfair, but we still have those cameras as competition. So it would be great if there's some way for Panasonic to improve the low light. Again, maybe that means putting a Super 35 sensor into the camera, I don't know. Number 3, autofocus. So the autofocus works great for stills, but when doing video, it's not really reliable. I did a vlog with manual focus, and I did another one with automatic focus, and you know, it really struggled half of the time with automatic focus. It does seem as though if you keep custom autofocus off, the camera does a much better job. And I'm going to do another vlog testing the camera that way soon to see how it performs. And Panasonic, they are aware that they need to improve the autofocus. Maybe a phase detect autofocus in a future model, but I am looking very forward to some autofocus improvement from the next firmware upgrade. You know, when the GH4 came out, autofocus was not important. But with the amount of YouTubers vlogging and doing one-man band type situations, it has become very, very important. It's a very, very useful tool. So I would like to see Panasonic get with the program in that respect. Okay, so the autofocus definitely can be improved. I'm glad to see so many people working to find the best settings and Panasonic working to do so as well. So I'm definitely going to do another second Panasonic automatic focus vlog. This time I'm going to be looking at keeping custom auto off, and I'm also going to use the single point autofocus more, and I'm going to just use continuous auto completely off and use the tap to focus. I'm going to explore those 3 mechanisms of using the autofocus to get the best out of the camera for vlogging. That'll be coming up down the line. But autofocus certainly needs to be improved if it is to be like the Canons and the Sonys, where you don't have to do anything funny. You just point the camera at you and it does the job. That's kind of what we hope for. Okay, number 4, V-Log. Now, most other cameras, most of the competition come with log in the camera. The camera ships with log. It's not something that you have to buy separately. Even my DJI Mavic has log in the camera. Why do we have to pay an extra $100 for log? And why do we have to have it shipped to us physically? It's a digital thing that we could download. It's a pain in the ass. So I hope to see V-Log free or V-Log shipping in the next iteration of the GH cameras. It is painful. It's almost a little bit insulting, really. Okay, and a distant number 5 is slow motion. I love the variable frame rates in the Panasonic cameras. I love the 96 frames per second coming out of the GH4. I love the 60p 4K that this can do, which is what I'm shooting this in right now. And I love the 180 frames per second slow motion, but there are 2 issues. Number 1, the quality of the video when you do 180 frames per second is not as good as it could be. I would hope to see improved video quality for the fast frame rates, And I would also like to be able to have my hands on the actual file. For 180 frames per second, the camera will turn it into a slow-mo video of the frame rate of your choosing, but I really want to have that 180 frames per second file for myself to use as well. That would be a great improvement too. Okay, so those are the top 5 improvements I want to see from the Panasonic GH cameras. I also want to mention 2 other things that kind of will hopefully be addressed in firmware upgrades. The first is the stabilizer. The stabilizer on this camera, the IBIS, is fantastic. Using manual lenses, the sensor, 5-axis sensor stabilization does a really good job. I love it. When you're walking forward, there's a bit of a left-right sway. I hope they can fix that with the firmware upgrade. And also, there is some confusion with the robustness of the compression for 10-bit 422. So we want to make sure that the 10-bit 422 that's recorded internally can be used to the best of its potential, however that needs to happen. And that will probably, hopefully, be addressed with the firmware upgrade. So that's it. That's how I want to see the Panasonic GH cameras improving. I love these cameras. They're fantastic tools. The menus, the ergonomics, it's just so feature-packed. It makes shooting easy. It makes me feel passionate about shooting. It's just a great tool. You know, I love the image quality, the dynamic range coming from the Sony cameras. So I kind of want Panasonic to catch up. But when you use a GH camera for a while and you become accustomed to all of these features and these fantastic ergonomics, it's really hard to go back. It's great. It never overheats. It's got a decent battery life. GH5 not as good as the GH4, probably because of the extra processing power. That could maybe be improved because the GH4 is great for battery life, and that's very important. Never overheats, as I mentioned. It's fantastic. So anyway, love the camera. Always room for improvement. Thanks for watching. Lots of videos coming up. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now. Bye.